Jinx here with another small episode of Geeking Out, and I just wanted to share with you a few memories that I had of this amazing gem. Most everyone knows about it, but Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy III, as it was here in the States, and it was ironic. I put this awesome t-shirt on today, and I did not know that this game has turned 20 years old. It's pretty amazing to think about that. This came out 20 years ago. I was 11 when this came out, and it's amazing to think about that. It was in 1994 when this game came out, and I was a huge fan of Final Fantasy II. Most of you know that already. I was completely enamored with that game. I loved it to death. And then Ronnie tells me, man, this game just came out. His uncle brought it over to their house, and he said, you need to go and get it. Like, go rent it, whatever. And of course, I mean, I didn't have a lot of money, so I'm like, sure, I'll just go rent it. And I went and I grabbed it from our local grocery store, and I brought it home. It was in the middle of October, so it was kind of cold. I lived in the basement in my parents' house, so it was kind of chilly. And I put this game in, and that opening came up, that opening of the three Magitech armors walking across the snow, and that title came up, and that organ music, and it just the whole environment of it. I felt like I was there. It gripped me immediately. And then, I mean, at the first thing, I was like, wow, I mean, who is this character, this girl? I mean, what's going on with her? And she doesn't have any memory, and you know, what's going on? You know, it was really, really amazing. And so as I played through it, I was like, all right, gotta start naming the characters after people I know. And you know, those characters got closer to me, and then the story started to develop. The music captured me like none other. And as some of you know from one of my other videos, that I shirked a lot of homework to play this. And unfortunately that came back to haunt me. But for the longest time, I didn't own this game. And it wasn't until I was my second year of middle school, and I was in my art class, and I started talking this game with another friend of mine, and he said, hey, I've got an extra copy of it. And like, yes, please? How can I get this from you? So it's like, how can I get this game from you? And he says, all right, $30, and I'll give you a strategy guide with it. And I was just blown away. I was like, no way, seriously? Okay, I'm down. I'm ready. That's fantastic. Let's do this. So he comes into class. I think it was the next day, and I was able to get the money. I can't remember how. And he gives me the official strategy guide. Now, this is what I've had to do to it. I've had to put it inside page protectors and take it out of the binding, because I read it so much. I mean, the way that Nintendo did their strategy guides back then, it was this amazing like storybook that you could read through and see all the stuff about the game, you know, these tables and everything, really detailed maps. It was just fun to thumb through it for hours and hours and hours. And so, I mean, I went through this, I read through this so many times. It was just fantastic. And so yeah, it's in this 3-ring binder with all these page protectors, and it's a little ratty, but this is how I keep it. And there was another strategy guide that I found, and this was the weirdest one I think I've ever seen. It is a player's guide. There it is. You know, you got Mog here on the front and everything else, but 90% of this is in text. It's like you're reading it. And this, I literally read this cover to cover. And it really, again, it kind of gave an extra idea of the insights of the story, and it was fantastic to read it like this. They don't make strategy guides like this anymore, and it's kind of sad. But I mean, I have so many memories of just flipping through this. They did something at school where they said, all right, you're going to take 20-30 minutes out of every day, every school day, and your students are going to sit and read. So, of course, me being kind of sneaky like that, I brought this, and I just, like, every day I was thumbing through it, reading it. And so that was amazing. So it's just like, man, it's just, you go back and you think about this like it's 20 years ago. that I played this game, and it wasn't for another 4 that I actually owned it. I think I beat the game purely on rentals alone. And one time in particular, this is probably the biggest memory I have of Final Fantasy III, and unfortunately it's kind of a heartbreaker, and it's kind of angry, but it's funny to tell it. Now I look back, I think it's funny, but at the time I was so just, oh. Okay, so we all know the scene. Near the end of the first half of the game, the continent where the 3 statues of magical balance are, and the entire continent floats up into the air, and Emperor Gastal and Kefka are gonna take over, and they're gonna use this power to take over the world. And now I get there, and I'm so excited because like the story's moving really, really fast, and I get there, and I'm completely unprepared for it. I have barely any items in my inventory. I barely have any ethers or anything, and I know I'm outclassed in levels because I've just been motoring through the story, so I hadn't been grinding at all. So I'm like literally running from every battle because everything poisons you, everything hurts you, and it's just like, oh my god, come on, just keep moving, and pick up as much treasure as you can, keep going. And I get to the spot where you can jump back down to your airship, and I knew that I could not use it because I'd lose Shadow. Everyone knows that. If you jump down to the airship, you lose Shadow because he doesn't come back at the end of this section. So then you lose him completely and you don't get him for the rest of the game. I was like, I don't want to lose him. He's really cool. I want to keep it. So I had to just soldier forward. I get to the Atma weapon, and that music will haunt me forever, that battle music, because I was like, white-knuckled. It was like, I'm gonna survive, burn all the things, burn all the big items, use everything, I gotta get through this section. And then I see this epic, sundering of the world come to fruition, and of course now I've got to run off of this continent, and everything's falling apart, and I keep getting into these random battles with this timer in the bottom right corner of the screen. I'm like, oh god, I gotta get through it. And then I get to the end, save Shadow, jump down to the airship, and everything goes to hell. The world is sundered, everything's torn apart, and it's heartbreaking to watch, and it's awe-inspiring. It's like, my god, what just happened? And then it coasts in on the island, and there's Salis with Cid all by herself. She finds out that she's been asleep for a year and that no one's around. She doesn't know where she is. The only thing that they know is that her and Cid are the only 2 left, and it was heartbreaking to go through this section. But I didn't get to go through it much because I'm like, okay, new stuff. I gotta go out and grab a fish. Okay, sure, Cid, I'll go do that. You're not feeling too well. I'll go get you some fish. And I wander around a little bit, and then I was like, wow, I'm out on the world map now. This very small island. What do I do? Okay, I'll just walk around a little bit, see what's going on here. Instant battle. These mobs attack me. Paralysis. Poison. I watch my health tick away, and I can do nothing about it. So I sit there and I watch it, and I'm like, oh no, what's gonna happen? No, God, what's happening? No! And then I die. Game over. Get to the game over screen. And as I'm getting back to the main screen to reload my game, I finally realize, when was the last time I saved? It was at the beginning of the frickin' island. I couldn't believe it. I was like, an hour, it felt like 2 hours, it felt like an eternity of my life. And I had to go through all of it again. I threw the controller. I shut the game off. I was livid. I could not believe that I was that stupid that I didn't save. So, long story short, I didn't pick up that game for a month. I didn't go back to get it from the grocery store. I didn't think about it. I was so angry. But then finally I got to play through the game again, because unfortunately my save file disappeared at that point when I finally got my hands on it again. And I finally got a chance to play through it, and before I went to the island, I got smart, and I said, okay, I'm gonna grind, I'm gonna stockpile, I'm gonna get through this thing, and I actually enjoyed that section of the game much, much more for it. And then I finally got to the island, and I heard the amazing theme song of Forever Rachel, the whole thing with Salus and the cliff, and finding that raft that Sid left for her. No, I wasn't able to save Sid. That was kind of another heart-wrenching part about it. And then you find the other characters, and then the whole world is open to you, and it just, the rest of that game, that second half was so incredible. The whole game, the game as a whole is one of Square's best, and I pray that there is a time, again, where I will feel that amount of emotional connection to a game like I did in Final Fantasy VI. But happy birthday, Final Fantasy VI. Amazing stuff. Guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. See you later.